Hey everyone, welcome to the show. This is Getcha Some Productions podcast episode number, oh man, I just had it, of course, 37. 37. This is a show where we discuss everything related to music production from the first note to the last fan. So we could talk about composition. We could talk about stapling flyers to telephone poles. We could talk about the fan that talks too close when they come to the merch table and they stink.
I love
We could
those.
talk, what's that?
Love those people.
We could talk about all that stuff. It's all on the table here. So usually what we do first is we plug something for the show. And so typically for the show, Getcha Some Productions, I like to plug our Reverb affiliation. So if you want to support the show, you can do all the usual stuff. Leave a rating, review, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Comment in the notes below. If you're watching this on video, comment on YouTube. If you're just listening on a podcast app, leave a review. Feel free to leave comments there. A rating is great. You can even troll us if you wish to. I like that. It's kind of hilarious. So do that. But if you want to contribute to the show monetarily, you can go to Reverb. You can just click the link. It's a special affiliate link in the description in either the show notes or the show description, whatever application you're on. Click the description, the link in the description, and then go shopping on reverb.com for yourself. And anything you buy through that link pays the show a little commission. Also, I'm gonna leave a link to this because we are also Amazon affiliates. Yes, we sold our soul to the devil and we became Amazon affiliates. And we are in the midst of reviewing this book. So we're not going to do that on this show, but if you go back one episode to 36, we review just the introduction of this, and we're going to be reviewing the entire book and talking about it in detail. And my guest today, if he wants to, we're not going to talk about it in this particular show, but if he wants to talk about that in the future episode, we can do that as well. But if you want to buy this book and read it along with us, you can click the link to buy the book through the Amazon affiliation, and that also pays us a little bit of something. So that's great. So usually my co-host, Dan Kutcher, is around, but this is kind of a special show with my very, very old friend, Mike Menditto, who we've been friends since we were, I don't know, 8, 10, something. Do you even remember?
Yeah, I met you in 1989.
1989. So then I would have been 11, depending on what month it was.
It's like September. Oh, we met at Dyker Intermediate School.
That's right. Yeah. So in New York back then, it was called junior high school.
IS 201, Intermediate School 201.
IS 201.
Whatever they want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike is my special guest today, and I think if as long as he's willing, he'll be a regular guest. So maybe the best thing to do in this episode is just to get to know Mike, because he's sitting here in front of you, and that's what we'll do. So let's start with, and this is a weird interview because I kind of know all the answers because I think Mike and I started playing, I think you maybe started playing guitar 1 year before me, and you were part of the inspiration.
I started playing in August of 1988. I started fooling around a little bit before that because in grammar school, they had this special thing like mini courses, and you were allowed to choose, like, they would try and make it like a college experience almost already in grammar school. And they offered guitar. So I had a teacher named Mrs. Collins, and we had some relatively nice 3/4 size nylon string guitars. And the reason why they were nice is because someone got them in a grant and they got locked in a closet forever, and no one ever touched them. So like we had these guitars. It was pretty amazing for the 1980s to have anything in school that worked. So
Three-quarter size classicals?
yeah, nylon string classicals.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
I mean, the rest of the school was falling apart, asbestos, lead paint, but we had guitars. So,
Good shit. But you wait, so actually, so the question I typically ask for people is, tell me your superhero origin story of music. So technically you started on guitar. Well, you really got into it on guitar, but you actually sang
yeah,
before you played guitar.
I started singing when I was in grammar school. And in, well, I guess the year before, in the 5th grade, so probably only 6 months before I met you, we had this play in school called Dracula, the musical, with a question mark on the end of it. And my teacher, Frank Morano, who's actually one of my Facebook friends, still to this day, I was a weird kid in school. Like I finished everything ahead of everybody else, so I didn't have a whole lot to do. So he would take me out of class and give me things to do. So I would build furniture and fix things around the school and stuff. And then we built the set to this play together. He convinced like a funeral home director to give him a casket that the guy used as a buffet table at his parties. And I've got a video on my Facebook page. You could see me laying in a casket as Dracula, and people hammering
that video
in my heart. Yeah.
Is that video from like New York One or like a BCAT situation?
No, it's from Channel 7 Eyewitness News with Ernie and Estos.
Ernie and Estos.
Yeah, when he was younger.
I remember Ernie.
Estos, so.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, I mean, I remember seeing that video a bunch of times.
Yeah. So that's my proud moment. And some of our friends that are on Facebook, a few of them are in that. If we can track them down, they might watch this. Who knows? But yeah, that was fun. Then they wanted to send me for my parents and the other teachers wanted to send me for private vocal lessons. And I remember going. I don't remember the woman's name, but it was in Park Slope, I think, like a nice old brownstone. And she had a grand piano, and she thought I was promising. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I just didn't want to be a singer.
Was it like classical style stuff?
It was just rudimentary vocal training at the time. It wasn't anything specific. And I just didn't really want to, I just didn't really want to be just a singer. And I had already started playing the guitar a little bit, and that's what I wanted to do. So, and the other thing was that standing there as a singer, I didn't know what the hell to do with my hands. I felt like, here I am, I'm out in front of everybody, I'm singing, and I don't know what the hell to do with myself. So I thought holding a guitar made me feel a lot more confident for some reason. I just felt cool and confident, and like I felt like I could rule the world with that guitar.
Well, so yeah, you definitely feel and look cool holding a guitar.
Yeah. So that's where that's where the guitar playing started. It started out of feeling so awkward trying to be a singer that I was like, I got to have something else besides just singing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I always wanted to sing and play, because I wanted to continue with the singing thing, but it just wasn't enough to just sing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why all through the time we were playing together or you were playing in your other bands, I always loathed singers for some reason. I feel bad for saying that, but you guys know how you are. So
oh, you're calling out the singers now.
They know how they are. The attitude and the center of attention, and then everybody else in the band put all the effort into everything, but the singer wants all the credit. So
yeah, the singer, but also I guess singers do have that reputation.
Yeah, well, like any band, people are always like, oh yeah, that guy. It's always the front man, the singer. They're always like, they think he's the whole band. A lot of these guys don't play an instrument. They don't write anything, or if they write a poem, and the other guys have got to put it to music. But look, we're going to get a lot of hate for this. Let me stop. Let's
No,
talk.
it's a, you know what, so here's something that I was thinking about the other day. This is, we can go on, unfortunately, we probably will be prone to tangents, but I was thinking about how they say when people write, when lay people listen to music, they feel the beat, they feel the rhythm, but they listen to the singer and they listen to the words and the melody. And I don't, maybe you and I and musicians in general probably don't even get that because I hear everything
Right.
and I often key in on a particular instrument. So when I listen sort of a little deeper probably,
Well, we also
but
have some real music training. I went to music conservatory, which I dropped out because
yeah,
I didn't feel like I belonged there either. But you went there as a master's student, right?
yeah,
Place.
right. So we don't listen
Yeah.
like normal people, but
Yeah.
I guess the point I was going to make was that when you talk about the people who actually listen to, let's call it like popular music, um, or any kind of music with lyrics, and you have everyone that's actually listening to it, the consumers of it, right?
Hmm.
They're listening to the music, and if all they hear is the lyrics and the melody, or that's what they hear most often, then the singers, yes, I agree. I've worked with some singers that, and it's anecdotal, of course, but I've worked with plenty of singers that were, very self-important
Yeah.
on the one hand, but on the other hand,
Some of them are great.
there's quite a bit of pressure on a singer.
Absolutely.
And I don't think you can even be like, just like you said, and I have the same problem. What the hell do you do with your hands?
Yep.
How do you move around the stage in a
Start doing
confident
like
way?
Robert Plant, like
Yeah.
hmm,
I was watching a video. Margaret and I were watching a video for Mac Miller. Mac Miller is like a young, he died actually. He drug overdose, but he's a pretty talented dude. And he was doing his whole thing, his whole shtick in a video. And the video was just him dancing around. And I was like, shit, that's hard to do.
well, now that you mention it, I'm feeling a little awkward. Like, what should I grab?
You can hold the guitar.
Yeah, it's yeah, here's my newest.
Now you're just showing off your collection. What's
Yeah,
that? Is that considered Lake Placid Blue?
I think so.
Yeah, I love that guitar.
I didn't buy this new. It was nearly new. One of my customers from my marine supply business, he didn't want it anymore. He only had it for about a year, and he wanted me to have it. So he gave me a great price for it, and basically he was like, "You want this?" And I didn't really have a choice, so I agreed. Yes, I want this, and I bought it from him. So
When your customer says you want to buy that from him, I
yes,
guess you're sort of obliged. But like you said, and we won't discuss the details, but he gave you a phenomenally good price on it.
yes,
So you basically stole it, and it is a legit American-made Strat, and it's really a nice guitar.
yes. As a matter of fact, it cost me nearly as much to get new frets. I just got this one back on this with new trim rings. New frets and trim rings cost nearly as much as this guitar.
The entire guitar.
Yeah.
So Mike and I have been playing music together since if we met in '89, we started playing music together in 90 or
90,
91,
90,
right?
1990. I remember specifically it was 1990, the first time that you picked up one of my guitars at least. So it was 1990.
I can't remember was playing when very early days. I know like I learned the Johnny B. Good Shuffle. I think maybe you taught me the Johnny B. Good Shuffle. And, I was working on that with my Court guitar.
Yeah, the Court.
Um,
Those are sought after now. I don't
the
know.
old ones.
I don't know what happened to yours, but if you had that now, it would
Really?
probably be worth a whole $600. But people want those. Yeah,
I think my parents paid $100 for that and that Vibrochamp combined.
that's great. But what's $100 in 1990
Yeah,
was
it was 30 years ago.
it was 30 years ago. So that was still a decent amount of money to just throw at your kid and be like, well, I hope you really use this.
Mm-hmm. So what about let's talk about the first. I mean, and by the way, we could talk. This is, like I said, we could do this, once in a while, as often as you feel like doing a show like this. It's you're my guest, and I appreciate you wanting to come on the show because I have a show, and
Yeah, well,
I need to fill up air time.
I think
So and you're my friend.
yeah, but this is yet another situation where you kind of made me an offer that I couldn't refuse. I was like, well, I can't say no. So I guess I'm on the podcast.
Well, you could say no.
Well, I put a survey out online, and all my friends were like, "Of course you want to be on a podcast." I was like, "Shit, okay, yes, I want to be on a podcast."
Yeah, the beauty of these shows is they go up into the internet, the ether of the internet, and they are, out there forever. So when people search for, when you and I are famous, whatever, and they search for your name and then they come back, this could be a result, So of course you want to get in there, you want to plug all your, endeavors. Before you actually before you actually touch that dial, before you plug your endeavors, let's reminisce about playing like Led Zeppelin tunes in your house and cranking our amps up like as loud as they would go. I think we would put one amp in one room, and then we would put another amp in another room down the hall.
Yeah.
We'd crank them up, close the doors sometimes,
Yeah, well,
and then stand in the hallway.
there's a very good reason for that. And that reason actually brings us to the point of why we wanted to do this podcast.
Oh yeah.
Your gear and your sound. And most people do not understand how to get a good guitar sound. So really the whole reason is we had tube amps, and you want power tube distortion and overdrive. So you need to crank that up. There's no other way around it unless you have, it's kind of out of sight over here, hold on. Unless you have a resistor box called power soak, like this, Bulgara, then you can crank the amp up into this, and then you can turn some of that into heat and lower the volume, but still get that awesome overdrive tone. That's what you want to do. And it's a lost kind of knowledge that, people are too busy playing with all their digital effects. They're playing with their digital modeling amps and their sterile solid state, whatever they use. And I think they've really lost touch with what's so awesome about an old Stratocaster and a nice tube amp, because there's feel to it. It's hard to describe that an amplifier does not just amplify sound, it has a feel to it. And the more gain that you get out of it, it has a sensitivity feel, it has a sag and touch sensitivity. And I just don't think a lot of people understand that anymore. And you certainly don't get that from all of this modeled and emulated stuff the same way that you do from a real amplifier. And, that's why I'm sitting here. I just finished this amp right here the other day, yesterday or the day before. And I'm just, putting it through its paces and testing it before it gets into the cabinet. And right here, I've got my transformers. Put this down. I've got all my transformers here because I was getting ready to drill the chassis, and made myself a
I want to see
laser template.
Yeah, let's see it. So here's the deal. Let me just back people up, because we didn't say that you build amplifiers.
Well, that's my new thing.
That's your new thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike and I still get together and play music occasionally.
Well, the pandemic put a little bit of a hiatus to our music playing. This is the music room. This is my old bedroom when I was a kid. And here we are again. This is my guitar room. I'm surrounded by, there's a wall of kind of crappy guitars in front of me here. The nicer guitars are over here. And there's one that's out. I got another really cool guitar that Mike Maggio has right now. And I got a Martin that's downstairs somewhere.
I started playing my Martin again because we went to Woodstock for a few days, and I had to bring a guitar. So I just grabbed my Martin.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, it's so nice.
It's funny. Your Martin kind of brings us to how we got started with this again. We got started with the whole music thing again because your mom and your brother wanted to get you a guitar for your 40th birthday. And I said that you have never had a real nice acoustic guitar before, and you probably wouldn't buy yourself one because I didn't really think that you understood that you needed it. So,
Didn't.
like, we were contemplating, like, electric guitars, but buying somebody their midlife crisis electric guitar is a hard thing. Like mine, ended up being, I mean, that
Yes.
says midlife crisis right there. Like, I'm 40 years old and I want to be like, when I was in kindergarten, seeing this guy, on that table in the Hot Teacher video, and then the Beat It with Michael Jackson. I mean, come on, who wouldn't want that? So
It's awesome. And by the way, the one that's in the shop
it's
is
the same as that, but orange, rocket red. Yeah.
rocket red. Yeah. So it's not as
Oh, that was supposed to be my more adult guitar because this one only has one pickup. There's
Right.
no neck pickup on this one. So
Right.
it's got a knob. I mean,
Right.
it's amazing, but if you want a little bit more of a bassy sound to it, you
If
don't
you,
have it.
yeah. So yeah, if you want a little more bassy sound, which translates to if you want a little bit more like respectable sound,
Yeah, you don't
or
want
I don't know,
harsh treble. If you're not playing with lots of overdrive and you want to play clean, you want to play something
yeah,
that sounds a little jazzier, or that's not really going to do it so well.
yeah. If you want a little nuance.
Yeah.
So yeah, so what the hell? Wait, so yeah, so that's right. Yeah, because actually you're reminding me, we played music a lot when we were kids. And then
Yeah.
we were in high school, we played a bunch of music together. We played we had a couple of bands we were sort of started or were in, and then we played a bunch of we wrote some music. It's something, so for some weird reason, this recent uh, something about what I'm up to lately reminded me of a song we wrote. It was called like Blue and Green Sneakers or something. Do you remember that
Yep.
song?
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be like a fusion-y jazz thing.
Yeah.
Because Blue and Green is a Miles Davis tune, but he stole it
Yeah.
from Bill Evans, but that's not besides the point.
We also, you had a pair of green Converse sneakers and I had a pair of blue Converse sneakers.
Right.
So it was like, it only made sense.
Right. So Blue and Green Sneakers, but that just popped into my head because we played that song.
Hey, man, I haven't thought about that in a long time.
I know.
Wow.
Well, neither had I. But then, so we played a bunch in high school. Do we play together in college at all? I think we maybe just jammed a little bit here and there.
Well, you went away to college.
Right.
And I was going out with one girl for a while. I don't necessarily want to say her name. It's not that she's not one of my best friends. I just don't, whatever.
We don't need to mention too many people.
We don't need to, yeah. And then we broke up, and then I spent the rest of my time chasing after girls, which got in the way of playing the guitar. But because I played the guitar, I got a lot of attention, and the long hair didn't help. It didn't hurt, but and then so then we were working at the music store together. That happened. That was like 2001.
Oh yeah, that's right. We worked at the Musician's General store,
which ended up being owned by a distant cousin of mine who I didn't realize until I already worked there, which was interesting.
Yeah, that's a weird small world situation.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, and so the point you were making was that we hadn't played music together. We played music together in our formative years, so to speak, but then we hadn't played music in a while. And then after I got that Martin, or around that time, we started jamming again.
Well, that was the whole point of getting the Martin. It was my vision that you and I were I got my own Martin. Actually, what the real way it happened was I was looking to get my own Martin, and then I ended up with a striped 5150 guitar because why not?
How can you say no to that?
And then I remember it was 6 months or a year later, I came to my senses and I'm like, I still never bought that Martin. So I bought the Martin. I got it downstairs. Next episode, I'll bring the Martin out.
Okay.
But it's thunder and lightning outside.
I know they might hear it through because we live, within shouting distance of each other, so they might
Yeah,
hear.
like a
I'm
double.
I'm here. I'm hearing it as well.
Anyways,
So, oh yeah, so we got yeah, so right. So you got your Martin, I got my Martin. We started playing music again, but then we stopped playing those Martins
yeah, well, yeah,
together. That is, I
together.
mean, I
Yeah,
still play it.
I still play mine. Since I've been working on these amps constantly, like day and night, I haven't been sleeping. I kind of
Hmm.
neglected the Martin a little bit because I had that down. That was my living room guitar when I was hanging out on the couch with Sadia. I would just sit there and play the
Hmm.
Martin. But
Hmm.
I haven't been sitting on the couch in the living room very much. I've just been in this room, which I also work in. So I work during the day and then I'm here all day and then I'm here all night and I'm not sleeping and I'm building amplifiers and I'm learning all the and trial and error and experimenting with all these things here. And
You learned a lot about amplification in this short amount of time. When did you start building the amplifiers?
in February, right after your birthday, I think I finished the first kit that I bought on your birthday, February
February
4th.
2021.
Yes.
So just 5 months ago.
Yeah. And then I found some really cool YouTube videos. And this guy who I'm going to plug because he's a really awesome guy, he
Hmm.
goes by the name Uncle Doug.
Hmm.
And so I found this, hold on, found this weird guitar in my attic, which was
Yep.
bizarre because, we've lived in this house for like 30 friggin' years at this point. Now, I don't know where the hell this came from. This is a Tiesco Japanese baritone guitar.
Uh-huh.
And it doesn't even say anything on there. It says made in Japan on the back on this plate. So I'm looking it up and I found someone who had this identical guitar and it was this guy, Uncle Doug. He found it in like a pawn shop, I think. And so I wrote to him and he wrote me right back. He ends up, he's a really nice guy. And I just been chatting with him constantly. And I just started experimenting and building and watching his videos and some other YouTube videos and getting all these ideas. I joined a two-man builders group and I'm looking at all these great things that these people are doing. I'm like, you know what? I could do better than that.
Hmm.
All I have to do is put my mind to it and try. And I think I could do better than that. So what is it now? It's August. It's August and
Hmm.
I've already built 3 of these. And the kit that I had originally gotten, I ripped apart and turned it into my test mule. And right now I'm calling that my model number 187 because I thought it was really killer. It was like a murderer. So I was like, hey, 187. But it's my friend Mike Maggio's got it at home or in the store. I don't know where he's got it, but it's got a big EL34 tube sticking out of it. And that's going to be my next model, which I'm going to work on. I might even do it with this chassis. I'm going to work on making it into a finished, nice amplifier. But
Are you going to put that in the same type of like wood casing that you have your old other amplifiers in?
yeah, hold
Yeah,
on.
because I mean, also we didn't. So I'm just going to talk for a sec because so Mike started building these amplifiers, learning how to build them initially from the kit, like he said, but he's since developed his own design, and what you're looking at now is handmade, hand wired. The chassis is handmade, and
Yeah,
even the faceplate and backplate are.
yeah. I made them on my laser cutter.
Yeah,
I
he has
had
a
to,
laser cutter
that was
in
another.
this in the
That was
room
another
with
few.
him.
That was another few weeks of sitting here with this basswood plywood, which plywood is glued together with a glue called urea formaldehyde.
Oh,
And when you burn that with a laser, it stinks. It sounds like your house. It smells like your house is on fire. So
yeah,
I'm sitting here in this room with all sorts of fans on and smelling this, and like many, many hours of figuring that out while I'm working on all this. This is
yeah.
actually the rough cabinet. The nicer one, which is yours, Mike Maggio has it, and I'm waiting for him to give me some feedback. He was supposed to call me today, but that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've never seen a reaction from him. I've known him for like 33 years, and he came over the house like last Tuesday, And I've never seen him react quite that way before. And now he took both the amplifiers to play with,
Uh-huh.
and I'm just waiting for some more feedback. But he seemed really happy. The only problem is that to make this, it costs a lot of money. So, and then the amount of
And
time it takes to
yeah, it's
hand
a lot
wire.
of friggin' time.
So I'm not really sure how much these are going to sell for yet, but we'll see. But
Yeah.
it's going to be it's going to be rather expensive. This is many hours of work, of intricate. Each one of these is a push pull. It completely changes the circuit,
Mhm.
and this is not just like I had a nice gentleman comment on one of my posts, and he asked me why I went with an EL84 tube and not a 66 tube on a single end amp that's kind of looks like a champ. And I was like, there's a lot more to this than just a champ. And you can switch this into a very British sounding circuit also. So you can do a lot with that. And I put a lot of time into this. And this is like hundreds of hours and over the course of just 6 months without sleeping. So if I look a little worse for wear, that's why.
Yeah. Well, I could tell you that I have played that because you and I have jammed a bunch of times since um, you've had one finished.
Yeah.
Although you have modified it in the intervening, weeks
Well, yeah,
where I would
because
come and jam and then you'd modify it. But generally speaking, the amp is capable of doing a lot of different sounds, and that's kind of like the amazing thing is that, and actually you correct me if I'm wrong, there I don't know of an amp that does what your amp does in the wattage like specification, right? I'm not sure if there's any amp that does what your amp does, frankly, but it's also specifically sort of a low wattage amp.
yes.
So there's not, I don't think there's like a full tube. There may be another handmade boutique amp somewhere that we don't know of,
Yeah, absolutely.
right?
And
But
there are some great amp builders. I've become friendly with some of them, and
yeah,
there's a lot of guys that make some great stuff.
yeah,
But I agree. I haven't heard or seen anything else quite like what I just made,
yeah,
and I don't want to just sound like a pompous ass that I'm saying that. It's just
yeah.
I put a lot of my own. I mean, I've been doing this for 33 years now, and I've been hanging out. I was one of the youngest guys to hang out in the real scene with, hair metal guys with giant hair, and I was a little kid being taught how to do all this stuff and being taught how to repair these things. So it didn't happen by accident. And even though I only started building these things 6 months ago and I had to really learn how they work, I already kind of knew how all this worked and I knew how to get a good sound. And, I have experience with recording and hanging out in a recording studio at college. And so, I know what I'm doing. And so, yeah, I think I've created something nice. But
Yeah. Well,
we'll
it's
see.
definitely unique. I mean, it's like I don't know of any other amp where you can get like the champ thing. You can get like the different. Most of the time, when you buy an amp, you're getting it voiced a certain way, right? So it's like I'm going amp shopping, and what are you looking for? Oh, I'm looking for a Marshall, or I'm looking for an Orange, or I'm looking for like a Fender, I'm looking for like the Fender Blues Junior sound, or I'm looking for a Vox, but all those are basically describing like amps that are voiced a certain way. Your amp essentially has like a couple of controls where you can change the voicing
Yeah.
and you can get like, you can get all the different voices, but it's not like, nowadays you can buy like you can buy the Fender Mustang 2 V whatever modeling amplifier. And that's a modeling amplifier where you click the dial and you can get the Marshall, the Vox, the
Yeah.
Fender, right? The Twin.
Look,
Your amp
I can't
gets
really
it,
comment
but
on
it's all analog.
Yes, it's a real amplifier.
It's a crazy thing
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my grandfather owned an electrical supply warehouse right over the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, and he used to repair hi-fis and televisions when he was younger, and he made a lot of money doing that. And I think you were with me. We went to Raceway Park, I think, and we stopped at his house. And he
Mm-hmm.
gave me a couple of boxes of tubes when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, you know, I've been obsessed with vacuum tubes or thermionic valves. And then I bought out of the window at Maggio Music Store. I bought this Laney combo, which was all tube with two 66s and a whole bunch of 12AX7s. A little too much. And I always had a love-hate relationship with it because they had a little too much going on. And that's why I always loved your Champ. Is the Champ is very pure. It's really the gold standard for like the best sounding studio amplifier, like Joe Walsh with was that Funk number 49? That's a Champ. You know, there's no better. That when I was a kid, hanging out in the basement of Maggio Music Store, taking lessons, my teacher Joe, he was playing this tune, and Mike Maggio and Joe Cefalu were like, "This is one of the best sounds that you're ever going to hear," and that stuck. Let me tell you. And then you had that Champ, and I was like, "Yeah, man, it's just so pure. It's just one preamp tube, which is actually two amplifiers, and one power tube, and that's it."
Mm-hmm.
And there's just nothing better than a single-ended amplifier. I mean, granted, you can't be very loud with it. You're only putting out 5 real watts with the Champ, which is still damn loud. I mean, I really hurt my hearing one time playing your Champ.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I had my ears were ringing for days because I had it sitting right there next to me, and I'm just.
Oh yeah, because I left that. I actually was the dummy who thought it wasn't a great amp, and I left it at your house because I was like, who cares? I'm just gonna leave it at Mike's house.
Yeah, so I
for
fixed
a
it
while.
up a bit.
Yeah.
No, I cleaned the contacts for you, and you had an intermittent problem with it going on and off. It was just the silly speaker jacks that they got on there.
I did, yeah.
It's like a weird RCA jack, and then just two I don't know what you call those plugs that go onto the speaker, but
yeah, it's like a little tab with a sheath.
yeah, I forgot what they call those.
I don't know.
But yeah. So how did I convince you that that was awesome? Was it Julian Lange?
Julian Lage, yeah.
Lage? Yeah, because
Yeah.
he uses a Champ.
Yeah.
So a Telecaster and a Champ to play jazz.
I know.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, I have been playing it, and actually so here's an interesting tidbit. I play my Champ all the time now. In fact, it's all I ever play practically.
Nice.
But when I come to your house, I always have you set up your amp like a Champ.
Yeah.
It's like, well, get me the Champ thing. And it's like, oh yeah, dial this thing. You have to have the resistor at this and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's like the sponginess, the feel, all that, and like, it's almost like it has a little bit of like built-in compression. So it feels like it's easy to play or something. I don't know what it is.
The main difference though is that your Vibro Champ has a tube rectifier. And
right.
I have a very stiff solid state rectifier with like a pretty big filter capacitor setup.
Oh.
So I don't quite get the same kind of stag, but we still, the way I set up the amp, you get a very Champ sound. It's very similar.
Mm. Yeah. Well, every time I come, I feel like that's like the sound when you set it up. I'm like, yeah, this is the sound.
If people don't understand what a rectifier is, the word rectus means straight in Latin. So like your rectum is the straight part of your colon.
Mm-hmm.
The word direction, so a rectifier straightens out the AC voltage and turns it into DC voltage. And that's what you need to power the tubes in the amplifier. But simultaneously, you also have AC on those lines also, because your guitar is actually an AC generator generating an AC signal that goes into what's called the grid of the tube. So you simultaneously have AC and DC existing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a concept that's a little difficult for people to grasp. And
Mm-hmm.
most people are probably going to tune us out if we talk about this any longer. So we'll just go on.
So yeah, that's a good point actually, because I usually wrap up around 30 minutes. I think we're close to 40. I think we should wrap up, but I do actually think we should do like, I think that we should plan to do one where you talk about all the like real heavy duty gear stuff without like on the controls on the amplifier without giving away too many, of the special sauce secrets or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's fun for people to hear. I always get a kick hearing you talk about that stuff because it's like you go deep.
We'll talk about my low voltage tube overdrive.
Yeah, I'm into that too. I think you should put that in a box, man. We'll have somebody paint a picture on it. You'll be a tube maker. Oh, you already have one. All right, so it's in the works. So do you have did you buy your URL yet?
Yes, but I did not post anything up there quite yet. I don't have a lot of great photographs. And also I've been, working on a bunch of different things at the same time. So
yeah,
it's mendittoamps.com, and I'm calling the company Menditto Amplification, not just because it's me, but I have a family member who still wants to remain anonymous, who also has the same last name, who is making the cabinets.
Mm-hmm.
So once let's not even give the gender, once they want to be known, we'll let them be known.
That's fine. Yeah, because we'll put the beauty of this podcast and the internet in general is that this goes when somebody goes onto the podcast app. If somebody stumbles across your amplifier and they go to the podcast app and they say, I wonder if anybody interviewed this dude, and they search for Menditto amplifiers or Menditto amp, this podcast will come up.
Yeah.
And then the link will be there in the future, 1 year from now, 1,000 years from now, theoretically, if so exactly. So we'll just put the link in the description for people to find, and then when it's up and running, it's up and running. This is like early days, This is like a sneak preview.
We need to buy a telephone booth so that we can go travel to the future.
Yeah. We should buy a DeLorean.
Yeah. I mean,
no, you don't like DeLoreans.
No, man, they came with.
They're too heavy.
No, it's that they just came with this 6-cylinder engine that was pathetic, But
right.
It was a great car, but
Well, so thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time. Check out Menditto Mendittoamps.com. Go to the link. Stay tuned for more stuff. Mike will be back on the show because I'll just, bug him until he comes back on. And, that's it. We'll keep doing it. Oh, yeah. So, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And the motto, I always forget to say this. The motto of Getcha Productions is to create constantly and to inspire others to do the same. So I should have said this up front. Instead of listening to the podcast, go practice your instrument first, then come back and listen to the podcast. Create constantly and inspire others to do the same. So go practice your instrument, play music, call your friend who plays music, get together, jam with each other. You know what I'm saying? So
just wear a mask for now.
But wear a mask. Yeah. If you're doing it in person. I mean, you have to do it in person for now, but on the date of the recording, which is August 10th, 2021. We'll date it. All right, dude. Later.
Later, bro.